today we're going to be unboxing a new 3D printer that I have received. So this one's different to my current one. This is a Resin 3D printer. So whereas my current Ender 3 is a PLA printer, so prints off spools of PLA, which is basically just cornstarch ground and then twisted and then elongated into a very thin sort of tube, and then that then feeds in through the extruder and then in through the heat element at the bottom, and then as the heat element at the bottom increases heat up to 200 degrees Celsius or thereabouts depending on the PLA you're using, the PLA then becomes very malleable and pliable, and then you start to create a 3D print. You start to create a printout using that particular material. This is resin. So this is totally different. This starts off as a liquid. This particular printer prints off from the top down. So sorry, from the bottom up rather than the top down. So this is quite different indeed. And this printer is the Elegoo Mars. Now this printer is the Elegoo Mars. It is a resin printer, as I've explained, and pretty much what you have is you have a little reservoir at the bottom, and the print head prints from the bottom up rather, and then pretty much as the print head moves up, then you start to see your shape, your print, your design come to life. So what we're going to do is just take all this shrink wrap off. Now you may be wondering why this has such a large cover for it. Isn't that just going to make everything overheat? Isn't that going to make everything get hotter? Well, the heat itself is going to be contained inside here. Resin doesn't really get that hot as such. It does, but not incredibly hot. Now the whole point that you have this particular red casing on the top of it is because as your print is when your print is complete and as it's being drawn, it starts to cure, it starts to go off using UV. So it's UV that's what actually dries it all. So let's just see if I can get this off. Oh, look, all comes off as one. There we go. There we are. So there's nothing on the underside of that. That's good. There we are. Perfect. Let's put that to one side. Let's get rid of all of this packaging just so I've got some place to work. I don't have a lot of room on this table, as you know and as you can see. So this is pretty much what you're left with. You're left with your touch display in the bottom here. You're left with your reservoir in the top there. That's where you put your resin. Now the resin I'll be going into in a separate video, just because it is there's a particular type of resin I'm going to be using for this. Let's just get rid of all of this stuff from everywhere because there's plastic bits everywhere. There we go. Right, okay, perfect. And then you have your arm. Your arm is where this attaches to, and pretty much at the back here you have this little notch. That notch there slides into that little notch there, and then this is what sits inside the reservoir, and then pretty much as this pulls up, your 3D print or your resin print is then attached to the plate. So that's pretty much it to go into the printer. This is what it looks like. It's very, very light. It's only 6.7 kilograms in weight, so it is extremely light. Whenever you print, as far as I'm aware, I have got to read the manual though, but from what I know, regardless, you print with this on, and then it helps to cure as it goes on. Now, there's no holes in this. It is one solid piece of what feels like perspex, really thick perspex. This is the printer all in all. There's the sides, there's the back. Now as you can see, you have obviously your power attachment there. You also have a USB port. This is how you plug in you use a USB pen, plug it into the back with your STLs or with your required file inside there, and then the required file, which we'll go into in a separate video, gets taken up, and then that's how this prints. I did also read that you can use a micro SD on this, but I think the only way you can be able to use micro SD is if you're going to have a USB to USB to micro SD adapter, and if you go down that line. But it's very contained, it's very nice, it looks very stylish. I quite like that. We've got a little bit of perspex on the front here. This comes off quite nice and easy, not leaving any plastic behind. Now, as I said, that display is touchscreen. When you do start off, you do have to go through the manual and set up the display. The display, just to give you some sort of an idea before as I say, I will go into all of this in separate videos. This is just a little unboxing just so you can see it go and exactly what you get inside. When you first start off, you have to choose your particular model and make of machine, because the firmware used in this is probably being used on 5 or 6 or even more different 3D resin printers, and therefore choosing the right one will have the right settings for you. Now, I don't know if you can see, just a little aside, there are these little plastic bits which are left all over this. I would recommend, and it's exactly what I'm going to do, is take a good 20 to 30 minutes and get rid of all the plastic bits. So there's plastic there, there's plastic on the arm up here, there's plastic behind there. You want to get rid of everything, so when you start printing you have no plastic around anywhere. So that's the 3D printer. You also get this toolkit. Now the toolkit, obviously you can see, because I live in the UK, this is why we have the UK toolkit here. Inside here you have a lot of things. You have quite a few different tools. There we are. You have your standard standard figure of 8 lead power adapter, which then plugs into your power brick here. Quite stylish. Take off all the plastic before putting any charge through this, just because you want this power brick to breathe. They're made to breathe, so any plastic on there is just going to heat up and get quite sticky and could cause a fire. So this itself is quite... I'm trying to look to see if I can find the power output. I can't seem to see it. AC/DC, 240 volts, 1.5 amp max. Okay, that's not really highly powered, but then again, I don't really think it needs to be. Ah, look, there's the USB I was talking about, USB pen. You get one free with it. Should be enough. You've probably got a couple of test prints on here that you can roll off as well. As I say though, I'm going to be going into that in further videos. You also have a pair of gloves and a little pot. The pot is for where you put your resin in. The gloves you have to wear before you touch the resin. Well, actually, do not touch the resin. The resin I've got here, the bottle says explicitly, if you come into contact with hands, wash off immediately. It is not to touch human skin, which is why you get given the gloves. Then you have a resin spatula that, as it's in the reservoir, you just go over it a few times just to ensure you get the bubbles out of it. You don't want any bubbles to be coming through as you're printing, because otherwise you could end up with a great big hole in the side of your printer. Side of your model that you're printing. So this is just there just to go over the resin nice and smooth before you print anything off. So it's important to know what that is used for. You get a nice little, looks like Allen key, there we are, inside there. So that's quite nice as well. You also get some, what are these, microfiber micro cuts? Oh, there we go. These are little wire cutters by the look of it, but you'd use it to snip the resin. There we are. Yeah, standard snips. Have them with pretty much any 3D printer, and I had them with my Ender as well. So it's nice to have a separate one because I do want to keep them both separate. Some more Allen keys and some more screws and bolts in here, which you're probably going to need later on down the line. But any attachments, I'll go into that later on. You've also got, looks like a load of paper. Ooh. Funnels probably by the look of it. Yeah, it looks like it's funnel. For you might be to put the resin back in the. I'm going to say that for the time being. Might be used as resin funnels to put the resin back into the bottle. You don't want to be leaving it in there. If you've just printed off a small thing and you've got a great big load of resin in there, nothing else to print off, you may want to put it back in. And of course you get some rebreathers. In order for these to work satisfactorily, the same with any rebreathers, any sort of apparatus like that, you need to ensure that it is nice and tight on around your nose and mouth. There's no gaps, otherwise these filters aren't going to work at all. So that is everything that you get inside this pack. You get a hell of a lot, but obviously everything that you need to start off. Apart from, you do not get the resin. So before you buy this, you need to ensure that you actually buy some resin with it as well. There we go. So actually, as I'm talking about the resin, let me go and get the resin that I have bought for use with this particular printer. So as I say, this does not come with the printer. You have to buy this separately. There's a range of different colours for resin, including weights, 500 grams or a kilogram. Personally, I wanted the kilogram. I didn't want the 500 grams. So I bought a few of these. Now, if you've got a PLA printer, which this is not, you'll be looking at pretty much about £16 upwards for a kilogram spool of PLA. This is a kilogram of resin, so it's a little bit more expensive. This resin, it works out at about £32 a kilogram, which, to be honest with you, for the amount I'm going to be printing and for the amount I do print anyway, I think it's a good investment. If you are serious about making little models or making things out of resin, then you have got to use the best resin. And to be honest, this is the resin that this printer recommended. This is Elegoo's, or it's Elegoo Mars. This is the Elegoo resin. So this is the one which is meant to work with this. Now it has got a sell-by date of 10th of the 10th, which 2019, which is a little bit annoying because it's now the 1st of November when I'm filming this. So this resin would be off. So I'm going to have to send that back. There we are. So cracking. But there we go. That is what you need. So you have 1,000 kilograms standard resin made by Elegoo, and that's it. And this is the exact resin that you need for this particular printer. That then should be everything that you need to get going. But as I say, it does not come into contact with your hands at any point. Keep it inside here because comes in a really nice bag that you can just lift over like that without there being any issue. There we go. So I'm going to put that back in this box because I don't need it right now. So I've chosen to go with grey resin simply because I paint over everything anyway. So no matter which colour it is, and you can get translucent, no matter which colour it is, it's all going to have a black or a white undercoat anyway. So it doesn't really matter. So I went for quite a neutral colour, so I went for grey. So there we go. So that's the printer. This is everything that you get set up in the box. So there is a couple of things that you have to do and you have to set up. This manual, which actually seems to be pretty good, takes you through the whole thing. So how to put on the resin plate, how to put on everything. It literally goes into every single step. So because this is actually such a good manual, I'm not going to go into any more detail at this particular time. The next time you see this is me going to be configuring it and getting it ready to print. So therefore we'll have a proper look at that, and I'll get a couple of videos made up. So if you are new to this and if you have just bought this, even though it's been up for quite a while, you may just want to see how everything comes together via video form. Alright then my friends, well I'm going to leave that there. Thanks ever so much for watching and listening. I've been JD, you've been fantastic as always. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and ring that bell too. Hello and welcome to all the new subscribers. I hope you're enjoying the channel. So until next time my friends, happy printing.